What's good, everybody? I've been pumped up to do this video since yesterday. So this is going to be a bit of my thought process on Lasha and his results that have just come in from his training session and his results in the past little bit. And I always rave on about Lasha being the greatest of all time. And I want to do a bit of a video just on how extreme these two lifts were last night, coming from an athlete who was a weightlifter for many years, who competed for his country many times in weightlifting and strongman, who is a just lover of history, but also just a lover of everything of strength sports now. So I'll quickly give a shout out to Sensei & Co for these awesome shirts, actually. These are just absolutely fantastic. So I thought I'd just give a little quick shout out about that. But look, let's get into it. I'm going to be looking down at my laptop a fair bit because I've done a little bit of research on this. So I'm sort of going to go through the numbers of everything first. So the numbers that are written down in regards to Sinclair's wins and biggest lifts in history. Then I'm going to get into my own thought process as well. So I'll go through a little bit of a list of stuff I've done just to give some numbers to people about exactly how insane Lasha actually is. So let's get into the sort of Sinclair formula. So for those who don't know what a Sinclair formula is, it's what compares weight classes to weight classes. So if you're a super heavyweight and you're versing a guy that's in the under 80s class or whatever class it is, you would obviously have a Sinclair formula for an overall. So there's an overall winner of a competition, then obviously you got your weight classes and stuff like that. I know Sinclair these days don't come quite into it as much as it used to with the way the format of competitions are run these days. But if we go back through time and look at the top Sinclair performances of all time, we'll go through and have a look at our top three, which start off with Naim Suleimanoglu, Turkish lifter, one of the greatest of all time, if, again, the greatest of all time, depending on where you put people, I guess. His biggest total was 342.5 at a body weight of 59.7 in the 60 kilo category, with a 152 kilo snatch and a 190 clean and jerk, which gave him a Sinclair of 500.7047, which is the highest Sinclair in history. Which is just insane to really think about it. In second place is Yurik Vardanyan from the USR or USSR. In the 82 kilo class, he snatched 182, clean and jerked 224 for a 406.5 kilo total, which gave him a Sinclair formula of 489.6439, and that was at the Friendship Games in 1984. And Viktor Solodov of the USSR in the 90 kilo class snatched 190 and clean jerk 233 for a 423 kilo total and a 489.3309 Sinclair formula, again at the 1984 Friendship Games. So that is your top three of all time. From there, you sort of move down a little bit into names like Yuri Zakharovich, who did a 489, Zlatev, who did a 488, Karapati from Russia as well, or USSR, with a 485, Niku Vlad, who was an Australian lifter, but started in Romania with a 485 Sinclair. And we move down to, in 8th place, Lasha Talakhadze of Georgia with a Sinclair formula of 485 at the 2021 European Championships at a body weight of 176.3. He snatched 222 and clean jerk 263. So Lasha is in the top 10 of all time Sinclair formulas. As you can see, when your body weight gets so heavy like Lasha, 176.3 kilos, his total is his Sinclair. So for Lasha to actually catch up to Naim Suleimanoglu, he actually has to total 500, which is what everyone in the world, I think, wants to see Lasha do. Lasha, his total needs to be 500, which is crazy to knock off Naim, but he is so close. It is absolutely nuts if you really think about it. So the biggest Sinclair by a super heavyweight of all time is Anatoly Pisarenko, which is actually a smidge behind. He was 123 kilos. He snatched 200 and clean jerk 265 in the old days, 1984 Friendship Games, which gave him a Sinclair of 484.5928, which is actually now, Lasha is the highest Sinclair formula for anyone in his weight class and 8th overall. Now, these are, as you're probably all saying, well, these are all results from the 80s and, all older results. So I guess if we look to more sort of recent times, 2015, Ilian at a body weight of 104.44, Sinclair 477. He totaled 437 in the under 105 kilo class. So that was a massive Sinclair, 477, which is huge. And then Lou in 2013 at 76.40. Sinclair 476.31. So these are probably the two biggest Sinclairs in the last, 2013 to now, the last 10 years, give or take. I'm sure there's other Sinclairs that are around that point. I just picked out two that were high up, and these two are the biggest ones I could really find in that period of time. So Lasha is he's about 10 clear Sinclair points ahead, not 8 to 10 Sinclair points ahead of both Lou and Ilian. And I can remember when Ilian did that total at the President's Cup in Russia, the world went absolutely ballistic when he did those numbers, because it was something that was just so outrageously high, Sinclair formula, but just so big a lifts in his weight class. So it shows again Lasha's level, just at body weight to lifting. The point system is still far ahead of everyone else, which is just amazing. Now, when talking about Lasha's skill level in competitions and wins and losses and draws, I guess you kind of got to look across multiple different generations. And I guess I've gone through and looked at the people I believe. Now, this is a lot of this from here on in comes down to, especially wins, as what you perceive as the best of all time and the best lifters of all time. Now, in the sense of the lifts, or in the sense of wins and draws, you go with a Vasily Alexiev, who is a super heavyweight. He won 8 European championships, 8 Europeans, 8 world championships, 2 Olympics. Naim Suleimanoglu was 3 Olympic golds, 5 world championships gold, 4 Europeans with 1 silver and 1 bronze. Piros Demos, who I assume 99.9% of weightlifters know who he is. He's now one of the American coaches. He has 3 Olympic golds, 1 bronze, 3 world golds with 1 silver, 1 European gold, 1 silver, and 2 bronze. So Naim and Dimas both with 3 gold medals at the Olympics, and then Dimas with an extra bronze on the top. Vardanyan was obviously the second all-time Sinclair holder with 1 gold medal, 7 world golds, 1 silver, European Championships, 5 golds and 2 silvers. And then in recent times, I guess you go to Lou, who's 1 Olympic gold, 1 Olympic silver, 5 worlds golds with 1 silver, and 2 Asian gold championships with 1 silver. All absolutely unbelievable results. Vasily with so many world and European, Naim and Dimas with so many Olympic golds. Now, Lasha sort of weighs up a little differently here. He's got 1 gold medal leading into Olympics this year. He's obviously the odds-on favourite, but anything can happen. I think most people will understand that anything can happen at an Olympics. He's got to get the total, but he is so far in excess of anyone else. So he's got 1 Olympic gold. He has 4 world titles and 5 European titles. So I guess his results are still massive considering his age as well. For those who don't know, Lasha is actually quite young. So he's just extreme. So when it comes down to that, you've obviously got some massive names there. But he holds his own definitely against a lot of these high-level athletes. And Lasha still has many, many more years left in that sense. So he could put another gold medal next to his name at Tokyo Olympics. Now, getting down to the nitty-gritty side of the biggest lifts of all time. In history, the biggest lifts, the biggest snatch, and the biggest clean and jerk of all time has come down to Antonio Krastev and Spadad Salimi and Gore from Armenia. All three have snatched 216 kilos in their respective weight classes and periods. Krastev in 1987, I believe. Salimi did 216 in Rio, and Gore did 216 this year at Worlds. And for them, I believe Salimi also done 217 in training at some point. There have been a lot of big training lifts out of the Iranian guys in the last 10 years. Then you move on to the clean and jerk, and obviously the clean and jerk total of, or the clean and jerk lifts of Taranenko's 266. Then you go Rezazade's 263.5. Just the most massive lifts. Pizarenko did 265, also back at the Friendship Cup in 1984. And Kurlovich, I believe, did 265 as well and missed 266. Also, a Manfred Nerlinger from Germany also attempted 266 at the Olympics. If somebody could buzz me in on that one, I can't actually remember which one it was. But he attempted 266, cleaned it, and missed a jerk over the back. So the big thing here is, as you notice, that a lot of these guys will do one massive lift and one massive lift. Rezazadeh was known for doing a massive snatch and clean and jerk. Rezazadeh numerous times snatched 210 and clean and jerk 250 plus. Salimi was sort of a little bit more towards really dominating in the snatch and sort of still 240, 250 in the clean and jerk. Gore somewhere around the similarity, around that mid to 210s, and then around the 240 mark in the clean and jerk. Taranenko very similar, but Taranenko around that 210, 212 mark, and then would hit a 260 odd in the clean and jerk or 250 odd. I believe Taranenko also cleaned 270. There is some footage online that I'd love to find of his clean at 270. It was bloody amazing. But this will hopefully put everything into a bit of a clearing thing. But also, I do remember hearing in past conversations with a lot of the lifters from the 80s that rumours had it that Krastev actually snatched 220 in training at the time. So obviously back in that period, video cameras and that weren't a massive thing, but it's a very believable number considering his 216 snatch. But then putting things into account recently with Lasha's 2021 win. Lasha snatched 222 and clean and jerk 263 for a 485 kilo total. Now, a 485 kilo total is just not of this world. He's not just good at one, he's good at both. So if you put the sort of 3 points together, Sinclair wins and biggest lifts. Now, we've gone with biggest lifts with the weight class, of course. Lasha is so far ahead of everyone else almost in the categories if you put them all together. It's very hard to compare periods of time to periods of time. But the recent athletes in the last 10 years, none of them have totaled more than anyone has in the 80s. So most of the classes in the 80s, you compare them to the classes of this period of time, no one has totaled and no one's lifted more than any of those guys. They just haven't done those numbers. Yuri Zakarovich at, under 110 did a 210, 250. Now, I think the closest comparison to that would be maybe Ilian or Matrosian, who's around now. And okay, yeah, they snatch around the 190 to 200 mark, give or take, and clean and jerk that 240 mark. But Yuri still got them in both lifts. And it goes like that the whole way down the categories. So it's very rare to see someone from that period of time be outlifted by someone from this period. Lasha's literally the only one to do it. Lasha's cleared house of every record, every all-time record, current, past, whenever. He has literally ticked every box you can think of in the statistics areas. Now, from here, I just want to give my own account from an athlete's point of view, from a coach's point of view, on my thoughts. Now, everyone's going to have a different opinion here. And, you know, my opinion is one, somebody else's opinion is going to be different, and everyone has a right to their own opinion, and everyone can give their thought process on whatever they want. And the more thought processes on something like this, the better, because it shows everyone's different mindsets and different learning things from different people's thoughts. But for me, talking about Lasha's 225, 270 last night is just insane. As a child growing up, watching weightlifting, growing up as a lifter through my junior years, through my senior years into strongman, I was very surprised to see anyone go near that. I didn't know if I'd ever see anyone snatch all the reds, the 225, the 4 reds on either side. And we saw it last night. Obviously, it was in training, not in competition, but I didn't know if I'd ever see that in my time, and I have. And he clean and jerked 270 in the same session, which gives a 495 kilo total in a session, in a training session. That's 10 kilos above his record in competition, which is just insane. Absolutely insane. He is the Michael Jordan of weightlifting now. He is not comparable to anyone else. And again, this is my opinion. I can't see anyone in lifting senses who can be compared. In body weight, maybe Naeem Suleimanoglu. If you compare the weights that he lifted to his body weight to what, you know, Lasha is now. But in the sense of just numbers, looking at numbers, they're just not what any human could perceive to be done. He's snatching what most of the guys start their clean and jerks on now. It is just mind-boggling. And a lot of people ask me, they go, Biggie, what do you think is the reason why Lasha can do this and no one else can? My thought process is plain and simple. Lasha is an anomaly. He is 6'7" and he's 175 kilos, but he moves like someone 50-odd kilos. He is so fast. He is so sharp. He's so technically precise for a guy his size. No one moves like Lasha. No one moves that well at that size in history. That's why he lifts as much as he does. His obviously clean and jerk is just phenomenal. He's a smidgen off 600 pounds, which is mind-boggling. He's a smidgen off a 227 snatch, which is 500 pounds, which is unbelievable. I don't think you will ever see another Lasha ever again. I can't see anyone in my time especially being that big, that skilled, and that able to move. Timing is perfect. I think people see guys and go, well, I've seen this person, he's way stronger than Lasha. Well, yeah, he's probably a bigger squatter, a bigger deadlifter, a bigger bench presser. Mart Seam is a bigger squatter than Lasha. Mart squats 400. Lasha squats mid-threes to sort of low threes because he knows he doesn't need more than that. But Mark can't move like Lasha. He's not as big as Lasha. It takes a big guy to move big weights, but it takes a special big guy who can move them well. And that's what Lasha does. And again, everyone has their own opinion on who is the greatest of all time, and that opinion will go on and on and on forever. My opinion is already that Lasha is the best of all time. If he wins Tokyo, I just don't think there is a shadow of a doubt Lasha is the greatest weightlifter to ever walk the planet. He has just done so much in such a short space of time, and he's really young. He could probably do another few Olympics if he really wanted to, depending on injuries, depending on how hard he wants to push himself. So look, I'm going to try and keep this under 20 minutes. But that's a little bit of a rundown on my thought process of Lasha and his ability and his levels. I'll probably do more on this. I'm very passionate about his skill as a coach and as an ex-super heavyweight myself. He moves like no one I've ever seen. He is, again, in my opinion, at least the greatest heavyweight of all time, but in my opinion, the greatest weightlifter to ever compete on a platform, to ever lift. With his skill levels at his size, he's just unbelievable. And a lot would go down to his coaching staff as well. He has a world champion and Olympian as his coach. So just a massive props to Lasha. He's unbelievable. And I look forward to seeing him in Tokyo. And again, like I said, this is just my thoughts and some of the statistics I've found. Give this video a share. I want to try and get this to as many people as possible and see how many other people have opinions. Chuck a comment in the section below, as I'm sure I've said something stupid that someone will hate or dislike, and give me a vibe on who you think is the greatest of all time and your reasoning behind it. All right, guys, stay well, stay healthy. Let's see what Lasha does at Tokyo. Take care.